one looking down on the other. If religion is to be mentioned, check the nations that hold so much to religion to find out if the constituents or the human spirits in that particular entity called a country, if they are intrinsically happy. That has never been the case, because there are so many different interpretations of the same religion, and the interpretations are not consistent. Yet, they want to build some earthly laws upon shifting sands. The shifting sands being the interpretations that the different groups in that particular nation have given to this specific religion. So one should know very carefully the laws of nature, which is the reference framework upon which all is built. These laws are self-consistent. They do not change. And therefore, if we have nations first striving to understand what these laws of nature, what the laws are, and then make an effort to adjust themselves first intuitively before we have the intellectual or the earthly manifestations, then one will find that many a misunderstanding will be minimized. Once there is no misunderstanding and there is respect there is respect for all the individuals of that nation, then quarrels will be minimized or will vanish. Then, hand in hand, they can build up. For the laws of nature build up. They do not destroy.
Thank you for that, Gregory. What I want to understand, and the religion is supposed to, drive them closer to the Almighty in that from their religion. And so what I'm basically saying is that religion has come from the Almighty. The teaching has come from the Almighty. So I hear what you say about the misinterpretation and the wrong understanding. So is there something? What I'm basically asking, is there some thing in the transmission of the writings, of the teachings, where basically why are the followers of these religions not able to understand, or why are they misinterpreting these teachings? What has happened to what has happened?
Very simply, many of the followers do not even have the slightest understanding of what they claim they hold very dear to their hearts. For it is only an assumption to say that because we hold very dearly to this particular belief, therefore we are closer to or nearer to the Almighty. Such an assumption is baseless. Hello?
Hello, Gregory. I think there was a little interruption. So please say, you were saying, if they are closer to the Almighty, please.
If they wish to be close to the Almighty, then they should, first of all, understand aright what the laws of the Almighty demands of each personality. Because the laws of the Almighty is unity. It cannot come to one group and say, kill, and go to another group and say, don't kill. It cannot come to one group and say, steal, and go to another group and say, don't steal. Such contradictions don't exist within the laws of the Almighty. Therefore, it is the human spirits themselves or the human personalities who either they misunderstand what has been given to them because they haven't searched deeply enough to understand it rightly, or there was a deliberate distortion to grant them advantage over other peoples. And in that distortion, they wish to force other people into what even they themselves don't understand. Therefore, religion as such never counts. It is the deeds that count. It is the intuitive deeds which have then been realized. That is what exhibits whether one is going closer to the Almighty in accordance with His laws, not in accordance with the imaginations of these particular peoples. Therefore, you will find that by their activities, they reveal themselves where they belong. Whether they belong to the group who, through their volition, who, through their activities, swing in accordance with the will of the Almighty. Only those will say they are progressing in the right direction. Otherwise, they will be held back because in the first instance, they don't have the slightest idea of that which they must fulfill in order to be pleasing to the will of their Maker.
Thank you again, Gregory, for clarifying that, because, you know, let's say many of these believers, you know, genuinely trust what they believe, but what you're pointing to is you need to sort of really understand, you've mentioned it a few times, what exactly you're believing. And if it's just some indoctrination because your parents brought you up this way or whoever brought you up like that, and you just follow it blindly, accepting it, you know, and then, but because it was a misunderstanding, obviously the consequences are quite devastating when you get this fighting between each people. And it's because all the teachings bring you to do good, ask you to do good, they ask you to show love, and yet that seems to go out of the window, and instead the people act, you know, opposite of that. And I think that's I want to explore that a little bit more in a moment. So, but you know, it's important to see these things. So, dear listeners, it's Radio 1, the number 1. We are broadcasting on a new website today from now on. So the website, the new one is called blessradio1.com. That's one website, and then you're also broadcasting on zeno.fm/blessradio1. I'll spell that, Zeno, ZENO.fm/blessradio with the number 1. And then also, as usual, we are on YouTube, which is youtube.com. And then in the search box, type Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space live stream. This is the spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Rushin. And if you're interested in finding out more about it or want to get a copy for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.blessradio1.com. www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. It's www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is humanity, the way forward. Humanity, the way forward. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, what we were discussing before about religion and man, and how, let's say, man has misinterpreted or misunderstood, the teachings that have come across, and you've also mentioned about the laws of nature, and I will say all these teachings they don't, although they don't mention nature, but it's somehow implied, and somehow what I'm trying to say, Gregory, is, are we using our natural abilities when we try to understand life, let me say that way, which means including religious teachings and spiritual teachings? Or are we, like I said before, getting indoctrinated because our parents brought up in a particular way or taught us something, even it could be something cultural, and then we just adopt that and not really examining, does this really work, or does it make sense? So what I want to ask, Gregory, you mentioned the laws of nature there. So are we carrying some, do we have to be taught to, let's say, to know about life, or is there some way that we can learn through nature? Is it by observing nature, or, how can we make sense that this is something, whatever we come across, this is really, right, or it's some, or let's say it actually works, or is something, like a misunderstanding?
It was first stated very clearly that every matured person, physically matured person, can easily understand that they are undergoing challenges in their everyday life. That cannot be denied. If they understand that they have challenges, then in simplicity, they should know that their neighbor, whether their neighbor is 10 centimeters away or 50,000 miles away, also have challenges. And as they themselves are striving to find a solution to these challenges, so also others are striving to find a solution to their own challenges. And each individual will want to find a solution in peace, without killing himself or herself. That is the first step, to show understanding that each person has challenges. Depending on how they handle these challenges, they are able to find a solution, or they remain in the same state. Whenever someone is able to find a solution to a particular challenge, be it social, be it health, be it economic, whatever they care to call it, that person feels happy. So if on my side I feel happy, one should also assume others who have found solutions to their challenges, could be health problem, will also feel happy. So happiness becomes something universal. With that as the basis, one will then start asking, what causes the misunderstanding? Misunderstanding sometimes may come due to lack of patience or lack of perseverance in finding the solutions to a problem. At the same time, misunderstanding may come due to not paying particular attention to how that person tackles problems. For there was this parable when it was asked, who is my neighbor? And many understand when Christ gave the parable, he gave the example of someone who was injured or beaten and everything taken away. First came a priest, went one way. Then came those who claim to be special and close to the Almighty, went the other way. And then came an ordinary personality, a Samaritan, who took care of this desperate personality in that particular scenario. The problem is always to assume that because we cannot really, we can't understand a particular scenario, we are not in that same type that needs help. Everyone needs help one way or the other. Starting from that as a basis, then the question may arise, how can one seek help? Such help, one must ask, what is help? Whatever promotes happiness, not only on a local basis, that means happiness for me alone and others can go to places. Therefore, the laws which is being referred to have been woven into nature. By nature, one should not be expecting some abstract concept. For we, in nature, we see plants, we see animals. The plants, the flowers give us joy. The animals we see give us joy. The plants also grant us fruits and give us food. So also the animals. There are other things in nature, water, the sky, all these things, observing them, interacting with them, gives us joy. But that joy is not limited to one person. Should we not consider that all that we see in nature should also give another personality joy? Whenever a person is unwell and he has access to some form of treatment, that person is joyful. Should we not expect that another person, far away that person may be, will also be joyful when that person who has had some medical challenges has now found a solution? So what is being referred to here? The laws of nature that brings us happiness through what it has offered is not biased, but how we are able to appreciate it depends on our maturity. These laws of nature can be observed quietly and in silence come to a maturity to understand that birds of a feather will start flocking together, and that if along the line we do a good deed and we feel elated, it's as if some threads have been severed and we seem to float in the air. When you see many person dance, many dance out of joy because they have found a solution. So from these little things, before long, many will now come to understand that you have scenarios like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. Again, generally, we now come to understand that law of homogeneity. Peaceful people will want to come together to tackle a particular challenge. So we have the coming together is what we call an attraction of similar types. In that case, hunters will want to go out together to hunt. In the case of farmers will want to come together and discuss a particular challenge, maybe the seeds they have to sow or the weather. So you find there are different categories, there are different types. Different types come together to find a solution to a particular challenge. That is what one refers to as the law of the attraction of homogeneous species. Attraction means come together. And we can also, in our daily lives, observe that for us to continue in life, we need to be able to breathe in and to be able to breathe out. That one necessitates the other. It's more like a reciprocity, that there is motion. No one needs to go to school to learn how to breathe, for it is intrinsic. And therefore, from these little things, we are able in due course to mature. So it is from these little things that we can build up. It is from these little things that we can settle quarrels. Quarrels, which means we are not seeing things in the same direction, and we want to bring in some, because we don't see it in the same direction, now we have some misunderstanding. Therefore, it is also important that, having observed these little things that have been mentioned, many sometimes come together, again an attraction, to discuss them and to learn lessons. Even those who came in the so-called religions, these were the keys which they brought to learn of the manifestation, the different manifestations of these little things, which we refer to as the laws of creation. But now, we now have a walk in the form of, in the light of truth, the great message, which gives clarity about these laws, how they manifest here on earth and also in the beyond, such that many will have a certainty and clarity and all confusion will vanish.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. And I want to follow on what you just said at the end, is that now we have the Grail message, which brings clarity and answers these questions of life. And what I want to say is, some people will be wondering, they don't know what is the Grail message, and they will say, oh, but Jesus came and he was the Messiah, he claimed he's the Messiah and the Savior. So that is enough for us. What would you say to that? Is the grace coming to replace what Jesus said? Oh, yeah.
Before one starts saying this or that is enough for us, how do you know something is enough for you when you have not examined it rightly? How would you know that the words of Jesus is not the same? The import of what Jesus said is not the same import that the message discusses, but this time in greater detail. So, how can you say, oh, I don't like this fruit. The fruit which I had initially, that's the only one I like. Have you tasted it? Have you examined it? So it is not sufficient when people say, oh, we have Jesus, that is sufficient. Do they even understand Jesus himself? If they did, then that question will not come up.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And then to add, sort of related to what I've just said there, of course, there are many other religions or teachings, and each of them, or many of them, might be claiming, oh, we have our answer as well. So, and we know something different, you know. So, what would you advise there? Because, as I said, there can be conflict between these teachings. There can be, so how do you, take into account the Grail message there?
In the first instance, if there is a teaching and that teaching does not point towards the laws of creation, or that teaching violates the laws of creation, then that teaching is completely wrong. For the laws of creation or the laws of nature came into existence through the will of the Almighty that made creation possible. Therefore, any teaching that is consistent and points to the laws of creation must be right. Otherwise, it is wrong. Here, what is discussed in the so-called laws of what many now refer to as religions, if there's anything like that, is a collection of what many may think that the bringer of that religion must have said. Because there is no clarity, you now find multiple interpretations which are self-inconsistent and also inconsistent with the laws of nature or the laws of creation. Before one can hold on to a teaching and say that teaching is the right teaching, one must first reflect if those laws are in accordance with the laws of nature. If they themselves don't spy that is the case, then there are doubts. And when there are doubts, there could be errors. Here in the walk, in the light of truth, there are two nouns, there are two key things. First, light. And on the other hand, truth. With the light and the truth, and how they walk hand in hand, a framework is made available. One must admit one key fact, that the walk in the light of truth, the Grail message, is a walk of perpetual challenges, which challenges strengthens the personality who is bold enough to examine the step-by-step pattern that it provides for the seeker to understand. So it is not a walk where each person will read and goes their way. It demands much more. So it is not for the faint-hearted. But whoever is bold enough to look into these challenges, that is, to be able to take the bits that it presents, the tokens and it presents, and through their personal intuition, to observe nature and see whether it violates or not violates nature, such with an activity which strengthens the individual internally. Only then can they understand what the work is all about. And that is why, for some, this work is a work of perpetual challenges, challenging the one intellect and challenging one spiritually. Only through continuous motion, perpetual motion, is the person, bold enough, strong enough to toss away all the dogmas that have been woven around whatever teaching. Only then can it move from the stage of cognition of all the objects to a recognition, which recognition is spiritual.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory. And I know we've come to the end of our show, but I would like to end with reading from the Grail message, which basically is the first page, you can say, of the Grail message, which is called For Your Guidance. And I think it just encapsulates everything what you've just said there, Gregory. So I will just read that now. So dear listeners, I'm reading from the Grail message in the light of truth by Abdul Sheen. And it's the beginning. The beginning is titled, you can call it the foreword, and it's quite titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boasts all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Abdushin. So, dear listeners, I hope you enjoyed our radio show tonight. It was a bit short and it was interrupted at the beginning, and apologies for that. Gregory, I just want to ask you, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wish them a beautiful week.
Thank you for that. And dear listeners, same from me. We'll be back next week. Before I say that, I just want to just remind you, actually, the Grail message. If you are interested to get a copy or want some more information, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that: www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. So yes, as I said, we will be back next Tuesday from 6 p.m. hopefully to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic for discussion. All the best, everybody. Take care. God bless.